Hey everybody, and welcome back. I am trying to go back to a format that I used to do more often than I have done recently, and that is I have been calling it work in progress, and that differs from my how-to videos in that it's more vloggy. I'm vlogging, as opposed to trying to just walk you through a project quickly and efficiently. This will be slow and painful. Well, really, I'm going to talk about it more, and this is actually the format that I kind of started with when I first started doing my videos, and the reason was is these were really meant more as a method of communication with my clients and as a way for them to see the projects as they are being completed. So with that in mind, today I'm working on a whole fleet of Federation ships for, Federation Commander or Starfleet battles. They're really Starline 2400 models from ADB. And I had done one video, or a couple of videos, a little while back of some similarly scaled ships that I did. But those were the old Zaki ships, the plastic ones. These are metal, not quite as nice, unfortunately. They have been requiring a bit of work here. You know what? I have a camera here we can use and kind of go in and take a closer look. I should really do this more. I don't know why I don't. So these are the ships. I don't remember what they're all called. But as you can see, there's a lot of liquid green stuff on there, and the reason is that there's a lot of work that needs to get done. A lot of surface imperfections or damage, if you will. This one had to have its third nacelle readjusted. Some are better than others. You can kind of tell which ones are the newer, cleaner castings versus what is probably older, not so clean castings. And so for small figures with not very many pieces, there's a surprising amount of work that needs to get done on them, unfortunately. So I thought I was going to go straight to primer today. But as it turns out, I'm back in with the liquid green stuff, and I'm continuing filling and sanding, trying to get this project finished. So while I wait for that to dry, I'll probably work on one of my myriad other projects. Speaking of other projects, maybe we could have a look at a couple of things that I've done recently for myself. Because every now and then I do paint something for myself. It's not all client work, although it's at this point probably 90% client work. For example, I've been working on these UCM models for Dropzone Commander, which I've finally gotten a chance to play. It is a really good game. The rulebook could be tighter. It's one of those games where you end up flipping through the rulebook a lot when you're first learning how to play. But luckily, A, it's not a long rulebook, and B, the rules are fairly clear for the most part. But I'm really enjoying it. I've been doing it semi-regularly on Thursdays at the Hadley store. That's in Hadley, Massachusetts, Greenfield Games. And so I've got this kind of fledgling starter force of UCM that I've been working on, and then I've got my second batch of things to come in. So there's that. I have a Shaltari starter army that I got started 2 years ago. I have too many projects like this. I got it started 2 years ago, and it is... I started painting it and I didn't like where the paint was going, and so I stopped and I shelved it, and I recently pulled it out and started stripping the paint off of it. And I really love the Shaltari designs, so I definitely want to get to it. And I will. And so maybe I'll, you know what, I could probably have that as my side project today, or at least one of my side projects. Oh, you know what? Wait right there. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So as long as we're talking Dropzone Commander, when I was at Gen Con this year, I picked up their 30 millimeter Walker kit, and I actually started assembling it at the convention. So to give you an idea of how excited I was to get it. And then as soon as I got back, I started doing some more work on it, and it got to this point where I have 2 leg assemblies, well, really foot assemblies, because I don't have the full legs assembled yet. The body and torso, I guess that is, and then the weapons. And this is essentially as far as I wanted to assemble this piece before I started painting. And so really, this thing is ready for paint immediately. And maybe I'll have to work on that as well. Because, you know, I should work on 5 projects at once. Why would I not? On top of that, I have some of you may remember that I did a Scourge project for Dropzone Commander a little while back. I actually don't think I did much video on that, and that is another reason why I want to go back to this work in progress format again, so that I can better track what I'm doing. Plus, these work great for notes for me, is to go back, like, how did I do that? What was the point? Like, when I do these Federation ships, I'm going back to my earlier Starline 2400 video to refresh my memory as to how I did the paint. So yeah, I'm sorry, I digress. The earlier Scourge project is going to be expanding, and I finished that project, but the army is expanding, and so I have some more models that are going to need to get painted for that in the near future. So I'm going to be all about the Dropzone Commander, which is really funny because I think about a year ago I told people that I really, really wanted to do some Dropzone Commander, and now I seem to be awash in it. So on top of all of that, I still have some bolt action stuff that I want to be painting. I love that game, and I don't play it enough. In fact, I've played it once, which is not enough. Yeah, so, and on top of that, I have lots of videos I want to do. You know what? And again, we're back to, why I want to do this format, because I can slip things in here that I'll eventually turn into more fully fleshed videos. But for you folks who are watching this, even though it's not a specific tutorial necessarily, I can do things like mention that I picked up some Rosemary and Company brushes. A lot of people had been recommending trying them out because they are Kolinsky Sable brushes. As many of you know, Kolinsky Sable brushes are becoming harder and harder to get. Really, more specifically, Winsor & Newton Series 7 brushes, which are my favorite, and I know many other fine painters also view them as their go-to paintbrushes. So everybody's scrambling around trying to find good replacements. Now, I have found that the Rosemary and Company brushes, which are made in the UK, and surprisingly inexpensive, like I think they run around the same price as you'd pay for like a Games Workshop equivalent brush. but they're Kolinsky sable, and they're really nice. My recommendation for you, if you are in the U.S. and looking to pick up some of these Rosemary Company brushes, they run a little bit small. So depending on what size you normally like to get, I would go one size higher. So if you like number ones, get a number two. If you like zeros, get a number one. You see what I mean there? The build quality isn't as nice as a Winsor Newton Series 7. You can tell the shape is just a little. It's not as consistent. The belly's not quite as full. But they're nice brushes. So for the price. It's one of those things, like everybody's looking for the holy grail. I want a brush that's as good as Winsor Newton Series 7, but somebody will give it to me for free. This is as close to that as you're going to get. So if you're in the U.S. and you're going to buy these brushes, on top of the sizing thing, buy more than one. If you buy one brush or two brushes, the shipping cost to get them here from the UK pretty much offsets any savings that you would get. You're still going to end up with nice brushes, but it's going to cost twice as much as the brush because of the shipping. So jump in with both feet, buy a handful of brushes, so that your shipping price gets sort of spread across all of the brushes and it doesn't hurt so much. And considering the fact that they're pretty inexpensive anyway, why not? I did find another brush too that is actually closer to the Winsor Newton Series 7, and that is the Princeton Kolinsky Sable. And I would show it to you, but the truth is, it's close enough to the Winsor Newton Series 7 that once the lettering wore off of the brush from use, I couldn't really tell which one was which. So that says something. Like, it's very easy for me to tell, even if it didn't have stamped lettering on the side of the brush. I could tell which one was the Rosemary Company, but the Princeton, can't tell. My first impression of it was that it was as close as I'd ever seen. On the other hand, you're going to spend about as much for those brushes as you would a Winsor Newton Series 7. So there's no savings there, but at least if you're looking for something that behaves similarly, that's a good way to go. Anyway, I'm going to go get some work done, and then I'll come back. And I feel like maybe my camera's fogging up or something. So I'm going to look into that. I will talk to you in a bit. So I started getting primer on some of the ships. I'm just realizing now that the audio is going to be different. Oh well. These things happen. Some of them are turning out to be a lot more work than others. Oh yeah, and I started putting primer on the big walker as well. Gotta say, the casting on this is amazing. Like, really, really amazing. Not so much for the ships, but I think in the end, the results will be just fine. But, yeah, very old school. I'm using the Badger Stynylrez primer on these because I find it to be more sandable than the Vallejo, which I generally use for most things if I'm reasonably certain I'm not going to have to take sandpaper to it. But you can see it's a really nice coat on there. And once it cures out, you can sand it really nicely. Those just have light coats on them right now. So that's where I am at the moment, and this is taking a lot more time than I'd hoped. So I think I'm not going to end up getting to paint these for at least a week. The wife and I are taking some time off. It was going to be sort of a vacation, but now it's looking like we're going to redo our bathroom a bit. So almost like a vacation, not quite. Ooh, look at this. Look at how nice that is. Oh yeah. Very wonderful castings in that model. But we'll see. We'll see where I'm going. I'm not done. I have a few hours left, and I'll be happy if they all end up just being ready for paint. So I will talk to you in a bit. So you can see here where I've been sanding on this piece and how well that primer sands. I'm just trying to get rid of the last remnants of the texture from the 3D printing process, which I think you can see there. There's not too much on there. There was a bit of that texture on the feet and then a little bit here, but it comes up pretty easily, so I'm not too concerned about it. And again, the primer works really well. As far as the ships go, the worst of the lot has been this Dreadnought. It has a lot of surface imperfections, and I'm working really hard to try to minimize them, but I think at the end of the day there's really only so much I can do. It'll look good, you know, the final job will be nice, but I think no matter what I do there's going to be some irregularities. The rest of them are doing pretty well, so I'm going to go ahead and get back to that. So my efforts seem to be rewarded. Although, to be fair, these are the ships that didn't require a lot of extra work. Some extra work, but not as much as the Dreadnought over here. But it's looking much better. I was mostly concerned about the dish, and I seem to have gotten rid of most of its acne problem. And the cruisers are looking pretty good. So overall, I'm pretty happy where we're going to end here today. As you can see, I've been mounting the stands on these. I figure it'll help make it a little easier to paint them and give me something to hang on to. And I'm letting the epoxy dry right now. Not too much more to say with the walker, though. You can see I did another coat of primer after doing some sanding. So I think that's going to wrap things up for me today. I have not had as much of a day as I might have hoped. I had some other issues to take care of, but I do feel like the ships are in a good place, and next time I have an opportunity to sit down to paint, which again is probably going to be another week before that happens. But at that point, I should be able to start getting to painting, because the priming and cleaning seems to be just about done. And why do I keep doing that? And we can get onto the painting and go. By then the decals should also be here too. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.